Welcome to On the Brink with Andy Simon. As you know, I'm Andy, and my job is to get you off the brink. And we have now started to devote many of our podcasts and webinars to this topic of rethink retirement. As you know, my fourth book came out a short while ago, and it's about why my husband, Andy, and I, yes, his name is the same, neither of us have any intention of retiring. But we were very interested in what people were doing when they did retire because we know that there are only 75 million boomers. And many, many, many of us are all looking at this next stage as a very important part of our life. And people are living another 20 or 30 years after the 65 benchmark. So, why do people get so excited about reaching that date and then not necessarily find a great way to live after that? So, I'm bringing in many of the people who are in our book. There are 30 stories in our book and another 30 that I couldn't get into the book. And they're about people, some of whom I know well, like our guests today. Jim and Marilyn Riley have really got a great story to share. But many of the folks I don't know at all, and they were so anxious to tell the story so other people could build a better next stage in their life. So today is about how do we help you, our audience, and by the way, we were ranked 18th among the top 100 podcasts on the topic of change. Now, the transition of your life is about change. And remember, humans hate it. But we're going to talk today about how can you create the next best stage. Jim and Marilyn, thank you for joining me today. I'm so delighted to see you. Always delighted to see you.
We're
Good
glad
to
to be
see you
here
too,
too.
Andy. We're excited.
Now, Jim and Marilyn, I know for quite a long time. Jim was sort of a client, but he also was in a workshop I was doing and went back to his office and discovered all kinds of cool stuff. But I'd like them to each tell you a little bit about what they did before they retired. And then we'll talk about that transition. Think of it as that transition into retirement, and then how they've been so extraordinarily wonderful now that they're there. One last thought before we start our conversation. In our book, I mentioned many times a Harvard study of adult development that has been going on since 1938. Their discovery is really important for what we're talking about. The single strongest predictor of happiness and longevity is not wealth, success, or even health. It's the quality of the close relationships. So
Mm.
today, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. But first, what did you do before you retired? Shall we start with Marilyn? Shall we start with you?
Okay,
Let's do
so
it.
before I retired, I had worked as a nurse. I started out working as a coronary nurse whenever coronary stuff was just being developed. Then we moved, transitioned, and then I worked in a smaller coronary unit, had children, took a break for a while, and then started doing school nursing. So I was at the school my children were at. I always kind of knew what was going on. And when it was time to retire, it was as COVID was hitting. So I was glad I was not involved when COVID was everywhere. So I was out of that picture. Um, but it was also the time period where we kind of hibernated a little bit. So I had to discover, what am I going to do? Just as when you leave college, you have this degree in something, but you don't even know what that degree really is. So you kind of work your way through and you do a little transitioning here and then realize, nope, I need to go a different route. So that's kind of what I did at first. But I got sick, and during that time period, one of the things I did was I was had cancer, so I was doing chemo, and I didn't want to get involved with anyone as a nurse. So I decided I need to keep my head down and do something. So I started crocheting a lot, and I made hats for a group that I traveled to Honduras with and helped provide medical dental things. So I made like 300, 400 hats for these individuals
Wow.
and gave them out there. And you're thinking, Honduras is a hot country. Really? They love the hats, but I made a theme. So everything from Sesame Street to anything that was on Broadway to everything, you name
Disney.
it. I had every hat was different. The 350 that I made,
I'll say
350.
wow again. That is amazing.
But it was a fun
It
thing
was
for me. It
amazing.
was the creativity of like, okay, this will keep my head down, and it gave me a journey to take, and I took that journey. So my grandchildren were coming when they wanted to learn how to crochet, and I was unsuccessful with that and felt like, oh, I'm a flop. But then they bought something that helped them do that, and now they're both crocheting like crazy. We went at the holidays at Christmas. They wanted to make something, so they picked what they wanted to make. So we decided to all make a poncho, and they
Ah,
made their ponchos, and that was a pretty big project for a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old to just make, and they live in Atlanta and we live here. So I wasn't helping them every day. We had to do it on the phone and other ways. The other thing that I realized is I like to play golf, but the group that I was in, they had a Facebook page, but it had been dropped. And I realized, well, we use social media, even though most of the people in the group were a certain age, but they all use social media. So I revamped that and started that going. And I've been doing that now for, I guess, 3 years, 2 years,
Oh,
and helping with that and keeping everybody in what's going on. So they always have a place to go and look. And if they don't have a partner to play golf that day, they can go there and set up the social media. So that's worked out really well. And Jim and I have traveled some, and I like to do the research. I was probably a travel agent in some other lifetime. I don't know. But I like to do all the research for all of this. And for the trip out west, we're taking our granddaughters. I have probably a 3-inch notebook.
two binders this thick
We went out and
of where we're
researched,
going.
and we wanted to make sure that it was something that they would enjoy doing because I want them to remember this trip. So, I don't want them to think, yeah, my grandparents took me somewhere and we hated every moment of it. I want it to be something that they're going to like, wow, so I want it to be fun for them. But, and that's about all that I can say that I've done since I've retired.
Well, I
So,
got a bunch of questions for you, but let's listen to Jim tell his story
sure.
because he does not crochet.
No, it doesn't.
No, but maybe you'll
Uh,
learn.
and you don't need to do exactly the same things in order to become really, purposeful while you have the time now to do it. And your story was a good one. We'll come back. Jim, how about your story?
Sure. I, of course, I've been working for a long time. My career's been over 50 years long, and unlike you, Andy, I did want to retire. I, my last stint, I've been in steel industry. I'm an engineer, but I've been in the steel industry all my career. And of recent, I bought a company back. Well, actually, it was 2001, making steel chains,
Mhm.
and that was good because I was able to buy it with an equity partner, and then we grew into ultimately I was able to buy it out. And in 2016, our son was telling me, "Well, Dad, I have a job that will never get my company will never sell. It will never change. I'll retire from this. Um, I'll retire from this company." And a year and a half later, he came to me and said, "Dad, my company got sold. What am I going to do?" He said, I just don't like what's happening. So I'm going to go find a job. And I said, "This is my exit strategy." Um,
I can hear the light bulb going off.
it was. And I said, "Tim, why don't you come and work with me? And you have your MBA." He's also an engineer. And I said, we work together for a couple of years, and then you can become president, and I'll step away. Well, it took in 2018 he was going to become president, but he said to me, "Dad, I need another year in operations. Yeah, I have more things I want to do before I take over." And fortunately for us, uh, he didn't take over that year, and that was the year when uh, the tariffs were beginning in the steel industry, and it was a very, very difficult year for us. We waited that year, and beginning of 2019, when things were more straightened out, he became president and CEO, and I became chairman. And I said, "Here you go, Tim. You take my job, and and you can have my salary, and I'll take your salary, and I'll move into your office, and you move into my office." And that worked out pretty well for a couple of months. And then I realized that, hey, people were still coming to me for answers. And I knew that that wasn't going to be the long term strategy for us. So I said, I'm going to start working more from home. and that worked. And he said one day, he said, "Dad, we're going to have to add another office because I'm hiring another salesperson." And I said, "No, no, no. He can have my office, and I'll just work from home permanently." Well, that worked out fine. And then shortly thereafter, I completely retired and decided that my my best role here is to get out of the way, and that's what I did, and it really was a very nice transition. Tim and I spend time together, less and less time together, talking about the business, but it's been a nice transition for us. Um, as I was doing all of this with my business when I first bought it, we ended up buying a house in a country club area, St. Albans Country Club, and and I knew that that was going to be a transition for retirement as well, and I got really lucky to be in a club that's of people that are like me.
Mhm.
Uh, they almost everyone here either started their business or were hard guns running businesses, and so we're all the same. All of our businesses are different, but we all have kind of the same structure, and so it's been really easy to make friends. And my golf group is has expanded to Marilyn's golf group, and so we're really having fun with it. We travel together. We we have a Cardinals group that I manage, and the St. Louis Cardinals. We have four season tickets, and there's 10 of us that share the tickets, and I manage that. But every game we go to we go to the game with a different couple, and so it's just fun. We've established uh, a bourbon group where we get together once a month and sample our favorite bourbons. Um, and then Maryland is part of a bunco group, and the ladies play bunco on once a month, and the guys go out and have dinner, and so we all party that way. But it's not about a party. It's all about being together with other people. It's really fun, and I think in retirement. Well, first off, there's my best friend right here. Um, my best friend and I, we do an awful lot of planning and traveling and all that together. But it's important. I feel it's very important to have social contact and have some friends that you can talk with and just enjoy. That even includes digging up some old friends from college and from high school, and we get together sometimes, and so it's about to me it's about people.
Yep.
Uh, unfortunately, unfortunately, I run out of time, and I still don't have enough time to do the things I really would like to do, like exercising. I don't do quite enough of that. But I also don't read as much as I wanted to, well, not as much as I did when I first started. So anyhow, I'm running on. Ask
No,
questions.
you're not running on. You are. Um, do you find that your colleagues in the community are like you in that they are happy? They have stuff to do during the day. They are like you, purposeful, that they're not wandering around trying to find, why did I retire? I miss my business. You don't. Either of you sound like you miss the past at all, other than, knowing where you came from. And now you've built a whole new next stage, which is full of richness. Um, are you surrounded with people who are like you or are wandering?
Both,
Both.
both. Um, there are some people that are now immersed with their grandkids, and we play golf and three days a week or so, and often our group is a big group, but half of us don't play golf every day,
Yes.
and it's a different half all the time. When we get busy, we go do other things, and then we come back and play golf when we can, and we mix ourselves up whenever we do that. So we're always playing with different people. It's probably as much fun after the game as it is during the game because then we can sit and talk about whatever, and so that's good. But I'll say um, the transition for me is different than what it's been for others.
Hmm.
Some guys, like when you work for another company, when you retire, you walk away and that's it,
Yeah.
and it's difficult. For me, I still look at the financials. I still talk with Tim, and he comes and stays with us sometimes when he's in one of our locations that's here in St. Louis, and so we get to spend time together. Um, so it's a much easier transition for me than it's been for others. It's also easy because, as I said, I've got my best partner here, my
Yeah.
best friend here, and so we do a lot of planning for trips or whatever. One of the first things I did when I knew I was retiring, in fact, a year before I actually gave Tim the presidency, is we went out and bought an RV.
Yes, I
And
know.
they
A
ordered,
very beautiful one. Yep.
yeah, yeah, and it's I've traveled all around the world flying, and part
Lugging
of
a
my
suitcase.
part of my career was going from city to city to city to city, and it was a point I said I don't mind flying, but I just soon stay on the ground. So an RV is perfect for us. We're not campers. We people might call us glampers, but we've had some really nice trips. We In fact, this past summer we took a 70-day trip to Alaska with Marilyn's sister and her husband, and it's just a wonderful experience to get out. And in an RV, you don't have to haul luggage through the airport.
Yep.
You always have what you need right behind you. And we have a small RV. It's not big, but it's comfortable for us, and so it's good. And so we've kind of gradually moved into retirement. Marilyn retired a few years before I did, so she was getting ready sooner than I was. But the whole thing has just really worked out really well for us.
Yep.
We don't have any excess time on our hands. I,
No.
I wish we had more time
Yep.
because I'd like to read some more, and I'd like to work more on memory things and learning things, and then also the geopolitical stuff gets in my way. Uh, One other thing though that I do spend time on too is I do some day trading,
Uh-huh.
and so I manage our finances, and that's sort of a job in itself, but I do it whenever I have the time. So we're happy.
Well, but your point has to be emphasized. And I want to go back to Marilyn. I cannot tell you about the stories that people share with me. A financial planner whose client retired and no, he had not built a community in advance and found that the people he used to have lunch with at the office don't call him back.
Mhm.
And if they had lunch with him once, there wasn't a lot to talk about. And so on the one hand, his former life was really rich and full of what he thought were friends, and his current life is really empty with not a whole lot of understanding of what to do. Another gentleman I heard about was his company was sold, not to his son, but to another company, and they wanted to know when he was going to start to generate more business. And he said, "I sold you my company. I don't want to generate more business. I want to exit." So they exited him, and now he's starting another company because he's bored to death. And so the story, and the reason I wanted to begin with your stories is that they set a foundation that it can be a rich and wonderful time. You almost want to retire from retirement.
No, no, I don't. I love
No, we've
retirement.
had a
It's
good time
it's
with it.
it's really good, and it's a great opportunity to spend time with our family, but really to spend time with other people and enjoy life. Um, when you ask me if all the people, all the guys in my group are same as us, the answer is no. I would say half of those guys have gone back for another bite of the apple.
Ah,
One guy has bought his company back
ah,
and then resold it. Another one has gone in and done some consulting work in his industry, and another went back and ran another company that was having trouble, and that second opportunity, the second time, generally doesn't last more than 2 years, and they're ready to get back out again because they remember, hey, you know, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of stress and strain, and
yep.
and so retirement for all of us is good. We have a friend whose wife is a bit younger than he is, and she is now thriving in her career,
Yes.
growing her business, and he's walking around saying, "What? I'm retired. I want to have fun. I want to do things with my wife." And she's this, she's just striving super hard to start and create this business, and so there is some turmoil there. And he and I have talked about you a lot, Andy, and I think you're going to get the meeting.
But this is a time when those are all new, unplanned questions. Nobody practices retirement. I was at a group of HR folks last week speaking about their organizations that are preparing their folks for both retiring and what happens when people leave the company because nobody practices. And I open my question is, how many of you have practiced retirement? Nobody sampled it, but you're somehow guiding people who are coming up to it as if you know what's going to happen next. And it's not just financial planning. They may have more than enough money to live forever. But on the other hand, what is life if it's not full of meaning and purpose and joy and fun? And if you're not happy inside you? And so the stories that you're sharing are exactly that range of things going on for people. That if only we could experience it a little bit. It's like I dropped them in a foreign country. They can't speak the language. They don't know what the food is like. They don't know what to do every day. And they don't know who the good guys are, right? And it
Sure.
has the same terror. And I fully understand that. But it doesn't have to be, as you guys have both discovered. So, but Marilyn, some wisdom as you're thinking about what you did a few years before Jim did. Any wisdom for the couples out there who are watching? I have some stories I want to share about some other couples I know who are struggling, but you guys have migrated into a wonderful relationship.
So I joined a book club at first, and there were like 12, 15 people. And so when I was done with the book, I would like, Jim, I think you'd enjoy this, or no, this is not one for you. And then I joined another book club that's going a whole different way. And once again, I'd like, I think you like it. And so sometimes I haven't liked a book, and I said, but so and so's husband really liked it. I think you should read this. And he's liked it. And I'm like, I can't get through this book for one reason or another. So that's been good to kind of do some of those things. Plus, it's social. Um, and I joined golf, but I'm not a great golfer. But it was a great outdoor social. It was a scheduled event. I had to turn in a score, but I didn't stress about, I'm really not getting my handicap down to a low number here. It was like, this is a great way to have a good time with people. And if I'm enjoying that, that's what it's about. And I only play 9 holes. So it's a lot more relaxing than playing
Yeah.
18, and it's not quite as competitive. So that's been good for me. But it also keeps me playing golf. So whenever Jim wants to go somewhere and he says, let's go play a round of golf. And in our RV, we can take our golf clubs. And in Alaska, he played at 2 o'clock in the morning because it was still light.
Oh gosh, you would do
So
that. I can
No,
see you playing at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was great, wasn't it?
it really was. Whenever it never gets dark,
Yes.
during summer. I just said that's on my bucket list. I want, and so we worked it out. And when I woke Marilyn up to go play at 2 o'clock, she said,
No.
"No, I'm too cold. I'm going to back to bed."
And there was a lot of
So
frost heaves in the ground. And I thought, this is so uneven. And
it didn't matter
we parked our RV right where the golf course was. We were able to do that
on the parking lot.
on the
See,
parking.
and you didn't need a motel or a hotel. You had your
No,
RV. I love it.
that was
And the
perfect.
other place that we stayed that was really kind of interesting was we stayed right next to a huge glacier. I mean, it
Ah,
was like when we woke up, it was like watching a TV show of this glacier. It was unbelievable. Nobody drove by us. The property owners had said, we'll give you a place to kind of stay in the middle of nowhere. And that's what happened. It was great.
While Marilyn was talking about the books, it reminded me too, and I think this is a tip for you. Uh, when I retired, I had not read a fiction book in 50 years.
wow.
I mean, everything I read
Business.
was stuff that business people like you write, and because I was always trying to make my business better or my career better, and so I said I want to read a book, and and our daughter, who's very creative, uh, gave me a as a gift a thing called Just the Right Book.
Oh, how
And
cool.
it's a service that I get a book. I got a book once a month, and what I did, they sent me a questionnaire of all the things I liked or didn't like, and then they picked books for me. And and so I got to read stuff that I didn't know how to go to a library or go to a bookstore and find a book that I thought I would really like, but it was
Yep.
really good. It's called justtherightbook.com. And I encourage people to use it because
It's a great idea.
if you don't know what to do, they'll help you find what to do. And I'll bet there's similar programs for other things, whether it be cooking or
Yep.
whether it be sports, whatever. There's probably others that will help
Yep.
you find things to do.
But both Andy and I are readers, and like you, he's reading a book I liked a lot, and he's taken about two-thirds of it to say, "I see why you liked it." Uh, he's a good reader. I will stop a book I don't like, but books are interesting because I'm not a TV watcher. People say, "What are you watching on Netflix?" I said, "I don't. I read books," and he does as well. And so books take us away. What I find
Sure.
is that the right book is on a journey and it takes me on a discovery that I'm an explorer. I love to do that. But
Uh,
I'm sitting here saying maybe I need an RV to go see the world the way I ought to. Um,
RVing is not for everybody.
no,
And again, to us, it's not camping.
no,
It's it's having it's having the convenience of home, but on the road.
yep,
And you know, doing it the right way is really enjoyable. And we are part of a group through the manufacturer of our RV. That there's a Facebook group, and actually there's several that have come from that. And so we talk about what do we do with the RV and how do we fix problems and places we go
it's a
and
job.
that's
Yep,
also another social group for
It's
me
like a job
to be
also.
for
it
us to be
is.
part of. And
Yes.
Marilyn really enjoys doing that online more than I do, but yeah, we get some good ideas and we have more fun because of it.
Let's talk about travel for one moment. We're
Sure.
not quite ready to wrap, but almost there. Because Andy and I, from the time our kids finished college, we were both in our own business. And I said, every 90 days, we're going away. I'm not going to wait to retire to travel. I love to travel. You love to travel. So we've been to 40 countries. And we have folks who we know who have fortunately retired healthy enough to want to travel. And they said, "Well, where have you been?" I said, "Well, 40 countries. Where would you like to start?" But starting for them is a whole different experience. And cruises are in their bucket list. And we met people in the airport who go on a cruise every month. I went, "Okay, that's a little more than my taste." But
Sure.
you're a travel agent in disguise. But help the listener realize that They often want to travel now and they have the time, not always the health. One guy in the book took his boat around the world, came back and found out he was sick. But there are lots of stories about this time for discovery and for exploring. What do you look for in the trips that you're booking? And RVs aren't for everyone, but I know you're doing lots of other things too. Marilyn, what are you thinking?
So we're going on a cruise coming up, so we've done cruises. We've also done the RV. We've also planned everything. We're going to start from point A and just drive and go here or there. This last trip that we went out to explore, going out with the grandchildren, we just said, I think we ought to explore this on Tuesday, made an airline reservation on Wednesday, and picked up a rent-a-car and then said, okay, now where are we going to go? Kind of. So we mapped it out a little bit, but it was pretty loosey-goosey. We didn't have hotels that we were staying at. We didn't know exactly this or that. We weren't sure. So we were trying out, will this place work or that place work? But normally we've kind of explored and know the history of the area, have researched. And when we went to Newfoundland and Alaska, we kind of explored, what do we want to see there? What interests us? Do we want to spend more time indoors looking at museums, outdoors looking at nature? What are our interests going to be? Jim wanted to see in Newfoundland the Iceberg Festival, so we traveled around and went to there. I wanted to see some of the unusual formations of the land, so we traveled to some of those areas. I was interested in Fundy Bay because I was like, wow, that's a weird place. Tide comes in and out, 50 feet in and out. I want to see what that's like. Nova Scotia I'd been to before, but I wanted to see some other parts of it. So, we've done all 50 states. I don't know how many countries we've been to. Never counted it all up. But we've been to a lot of different countries. And seeing a country is not like I had an airport stop there. Seeing the country is getting out and going and doing things. I have a niece that says, I've been to New Mexico because I stood on the four corners. My feet were in New Mexico, and I thought, you have missed a chunk of New Mexico. So I think it's important to understand the language, understand the culture, understand their food, live a little bit with the people that live there. Don't just, explore the traditional things, but go meet somebody in their house. Go talk to somebody who actually lives there and understand what's going on. So that's been a good way to travel for us.
Well, and I asked you to share that because once again, people imagine what it's like that now that they have time and they're going to go travel, but there haven't been travelers, and they aren't quite sure what the dynamics are, and they aren't always happy with what they've selected. They need one of those, thebesttrips.com kind of thing to match them up to the way they like to do it. You could create that. But I mean, and it's important to begin to understand that just because you have the time to travel and perhaps you have the resources to do it, you should be intentional about it so that it gives you some real good pleasure both before, during, and after. There's a great PBS study that they were reporting on, where the pleasure of planning a trip is almost as much, if not better, than the trip itself, because there's no stress. And you have, yeah,
That is
That's true. That's true. I really, and I research it by like let's say we're going to the state of Nevada, the tourism industry there, getting a map, getting a this, getting that, but then also finding out online, like the hidden gems that people have and stuff. And I have found one of the things that we're going to take our granddaughters to is a place that's in Utah that was designed to look like Star Wars base camp.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
183 acres in the desert that has concrete buildings and different swings, and it has rocket ships kind of stuff that's integrated into what you can do there.
It's Tatooine for those Star Wars people that are listening.
Yeah.
Tatooine in the first Star Wars. And
Wow.
it's really fun. Yeah.
And you kind of live in a cave there, but it has its own kitchen. The only bad thing is there's no restaurant there. So either, you're going to do the food that's there or whatever.
They do actually have Star Wars food there.
Yes. Yeah.
Star Wars.
But I'm thinking the grandchildren, one of them's not going to eat that. So we're going to have to work on that. But the interesting, I would have never discovered that except researching that. And I've had a good time looking at different things. So that's part of it for me is, like you said, the research for it, whether we're going on a cruise on a ship that they're going to tell me a little bit. I'm going to read a book about it. I'm going to understand about it.
Andy, the other thing, this past year, we went to Ireland with some friends that had just recently retired. He sold his business and unfortunately got sick right after, but he sold his business and they had never really traveled before. And we're both Steelers fans. And so we went to see the Steelers Vikings game over in Dublin. They'd never been out of the country. And
Wow.
so for them, their experience was enhanced, I think, because we knew the ropes.
Yes.
We've been there. I've been to Ireland many times, and so I was sort of able to help guide them
Enjoy
through.
it.
Yeah, right. And and so I would, and then as we're going on this cruise soon in May, we're going with five other couples that are in our group that we spend time with. But it's a lot more fun when you're with other couples too, because if it's just the two of you, oh, that's good. We enjoy things being together, but they come up with other things to do, and sometimes guy time is more important than just
Yeah.
spouse time. So
You're,
but others can help you find the where to go and how to get there and the language and
you
there's
know,
difficulty when you're out of the country.
I think this is good, Marilyn, please.
I was going to say, we've used a travel agent a couple of times, but most of the times we kind of dictate what we want to do, because it's hard when you have somebody else designing something for you when it may or may not be your style, even though you've tried to communicate to them. And so, not saying that the travel agent we used once was to Costa Rica, another time to the Galapagos. And I don't know that I could have done some of those easily by myself. We could have, but they gave us some interesting spots to go to.
Now with the internet, it's easy to find things. It's easy to find your way around, and
I know.
so it's people retiring today have a lot easier than they did 50 years ago.
Well, and you don't need to go to the library and fill up the encyclopedia and spend hours studying it. I know.
Sure.
And we're going to Bordeaux in August. I want to go to Dordogne to the caves, and it's an important wish list, bucket list for me. So I
Well,
asked my chat buddy, and I said, "Okay, where should we go?" And he gave me a wonderful list, and I gave it to the travel agent, and she booked them for us. And I said,
good, good.
"Nice
Yeah,
collaboration. I don't have to make
travel
it up."
agents are really good for that.
Yes,
And in fact, most travel agents, if you use a travel agent,
they're using it
you
too.
you don't have to pay them. They
No,
get paid by the
the
places
hotels,
that
that's
you're
right.
going to visit, and it costs you nothing to use a travel
To
agent,
use their expertise.
but they get you in the front of the line in most of the places you
Right.
go. It's really an advantage to use a travel
Well,
agent.
and she also got me a guide for the caves
Sure.
and dates to go. And I said, perfect. And I like you, I have my destination, and then we can wander everywhere before and after.
Right.
So, but it was important to talk about this because people are sort of trying to make it up, and it's not easy. My last wisdom is that I don't know what the trigger is, but retirement often triggers a health issue. And I didn't put them all in the book, but one woman sold her dermatology practice and got breast cancer the next day. One
Uh,
woman sold her business and got 4 months later had stage 4 breast cancer. The guy who took his boat around the world came back and had cancer. And I can't quite tell whether there's a trigger in the body that says, "Oh, okay." But health is not to be. You have to take care of yourself, but you also don't know and plan on what the unexpected is going to be because it may be not what you're planning, but it may come anyhow, before or after. It's life, and the body is a very precarious dude here. Anyway, last thought. I'm having such fun. I could talk to you guys all the time. Last thought.
I could talk to you forever too.
I know. Let's start. Marilyn, your last thought.
My last thought,
Not your last thought.
like I said, I think it's like whenever you graduate from college, you have this degree, you don't even know what that is,
Great.
and you get a job, and then you realize, not exactly me. And so you kind of smooth in, and it may take you a couple of years, but you kind of adjust to where you want to be. And maybe you switch later on in life, and that's the same way with retirement. There you have this little degree. Nobody in college, you don't have retirement 101. There's no little prep thing at your job, nothing. Somebody just says, goodbye, here's your lovely watch. Thanks for working for us. So,
You'll
you
have
have,
a party with a cake. You're right. Thank you. Thank you. That's a great wish. And Jim, how about yourself?
I say stay active, be with people, find ways to be with people, find ways to be with groups of people or with special people in your life that you've developed, or and stay active. I mean, exercise, take care of yourself, go to doctors, go find a family doctor, and do preventive maintenance on yourself.
Yes.
Don't let yourself just go. Don't let yourself go. Um, and and read. It's so valuable to
Yeah.
just read and learn what other people have done. I I and rest, enjoy it,
Yeah.
and you know. And for those people that are single, that
Mhm.
or have lost a spouse, it's very difficult. But those are the people. People like me reach out to our friends who have lost a spouse, and because they need a friend.
Yeah.
So if you're fortunate like Marilyn and I are together, um, remember your buddies that aren't that fortunate
Yeah.
and reach out and help them.
That is not to be underestimated. It's a gift you give because often couples don't want singles along, and friends that you thought you had don't want to be your friend anymore now that you're a single. And loneliness is the worst thing that can happen to your health, both physically and mentally. So, this is a real good lesson for those who are listening. Let me wrap. It's been a wonderful time. I could talk to you for a long time, sharing your wisdom. And I'm not going to get an RV, but it is sort of intriguing. For all of you who are listeners, thank you for coming. Thank you for making us a success, but also for bringing your ideas. And I do think that it's time for us to rethink retirement. It isn't just about helping you get off the brink. I'd like to do that. You don't get stuck or stalled, but how are you going to do it? And the questions really are things that you've never experienced. And that's why I love to do these podcasts, begin to share the perspective of others and help you see, feel, and think in new ways, a little like an anthropologist might. And I can only tell you that it's time for you to go explore, open your mind to what's possible. And if you're thinking about retirement, my book is there on Amazon in all flavors. And it can't wait for your reviews because it's a great time for you to share your thoughts. And there's that book. Yes. And I must tell you that writing books is a way for me to share and then doing podcasts to share my guests with you. So, Jim and Marilyn, as always, thank you so much for today. It's truly been a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you.
It's
thank
been
you.
our pleasure too, and we always enjoy spending time with you, Andy.
Thank you for
You,
doing this.
well, thank you for being part of it. It's the team sport, isn't it? It's like
Right.
reaching out to all those folks. Anyway, for all of you guys out there, have a wonderful day and keep rethinking where you are. You don't have to stay there if you're stuck. Don't keep going. I'm going to say goodbye. Bye now.